Nigeria air scandal. EFCC arrests Sirika over failed national carrier here. Now, the News Central to News Central now, and the news at this hour begins in West Africa, where the anti-graft allegations, or rather the graft allegations, where we understand that Nigeria's former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, has been detained by the Anti-Graft Commission in connection with a money laundering investigation for 8 billion naira. At approximately 1 p.m. local time on Tuesday, the former Minister of Aviation, who was indicted, made his appearance at the Federal Capital Territory Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. According to reports, Sirika met with EFCC investigators to respond to inquiries on purportedly fraudulent contracts that he granted to a business called Engerius Nigeria Limited, which is owned by his younger sibling, Abubakar Sirika. Sirika had earlier discredited claims that the government spent $600,000 on the design of the logo after the carrier was unveiled at the Farnborough Air Show in London in July. Earlier, Executive Director, Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, Debo Adenira, spoke to us on this development.
They encourage the fight against corruption at that level because a lot of us saw the lies that underlie the unveiling of the so-called Nigerian Air, which was a hired, plane from Ethiopia that was only painted to Nigerian colors and could not even stand the test of time. So the way it has been, brought to the public discourse or the public domain, it shows that Nigerians know exactly what they want and they know how to defend their rights to good governance and whatever they believe that has gone wrong with the question of Nigeria here. Definitely Nigeria needs a national carrier, but it's not a lie that Hadi Sirika attempted to sell to us. Then the fact that he had been cornered and he voluntarily submitted himself to the EFCC after the invitation. He actually honored the invitation. That is also...
To graft matters now, Nigeria's anti-graft agency says former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, withdrew $720,000 from the state's accounts to pay his child's school fees in advance just before he left office on January 27, 2024. EFCC Chief Ola Olukoyede made this known in a chat with journalists at the Commission's headquarters in the Jabi area of Abuja. Olukoyede alleged that Bello moved the money from the state coffers to a bureau de change operator and used the money for his child's school fees in advance. According to him, the former governor knew he was leaving office and moved money directly from the government to bureau de change and used it to pay his child's school fees in advance.
The particulars of offense is there. It's before court. Go and check it. Apply for our processes, please. You will get some of these particulars of offense there. Move money directly from government to bring the change. Use it to pay the child's school fee in advance. In advance. Dollars. How much? 70 what? In dollars, yes. In dollars. I think $72,000 or thereabout. $720,000, sorry. $720,000 in advance. In anticipation that he was going to leave government house. In a poor state like Kogi. And you want me to close my eyes to that? Under the guise of saying I'm being used. Used by who? At this stage of my life? Used by who? By who? For crying out loud. I assumed office here. I didn't initiate the case. I inherited the case file. I called for the case file. I called for the report. And I said, look, there are issues here. Do you know on my own, on my honor, I put a call across to him, which ordinarily I'm not supposed to do, just to honor him as a governor, as a immediate past governor. Sir, there are issues. I've seen this case file. Can you just come? Let us clarify these issues. I'm under camera. He said, sir, I thank you, my brother. I know, but I can't come. There's one lady, I don't know what her name is, that she learned she had set, she has surrounded the EFCC with over 100 journalists, to come and embarrass him and intimidate him and all kind of stuff. I said, okay, if that is your fear, I'm going to pass you through my own gate, special man's gate. You will come to my floor. We will accord you that respect. I will invite my operatives. They will come and interrogate you or interview you in my own office. What could be more honorable than that? In my own office.
Meanwhile, the absence of the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, at the Federal High Court in Abuja has stalled his arraignment for the second time, as counsels to the former governor say his rights to fair hearing has been infringed on. Bello, who is facing 19 count charges on money laundering to the tune of over 80 billion naira, was represented by his counsel, Abdul Wahab Mohammed, who told the court that his client has not been served the notice of his charge before a warrant of arrest was obtained against him, thus urging the court to set aside the warrant. Idong Joseph reports.
It was supposed to be the arraignment of the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, over allegations of money laundering and misappropriation of public funds amounting to 80.2 billion naira. However, the former governor was absent as his counsel complained that the warrant of arrest obtained against his client was responsible for his absence, alleging that he might not have a fair hearing. Yahaya Bello's counsel told the court that his client was not served a notice of the charge against him before obtaining a warrant for his arrest. He asked the court to set aside the warrant for arrest on his client to enable him appear in court in person. This, the counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission opposed, praying the court to dismiss the request. After almost 4 hours of argument between the counsel of the embattled former governor of Kogi State and counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, seeking the court to set aside the warrant of arrest against him, the court proceedings have ended without the former governor being arraigned. However, the court has adjourned till May the 10th to give a ruling on the case filed by Bello's counsel and says that if Bello is being produced within the period, then his arraignment will also take place on the same day. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
Now, energy stakeholders have called for a multi-tier electricity market, saying this will spur the growth of the nation's power sector. This was during a 2-day National Assembly Power Stakeholders Interactive Dialogue in Abuja, where they expressed worry over the lack of growth of Nigeria's power sector, saying this is stifling the growth of the nation's economy. Amadin Uyi reports.
Despite privatization of Nigeria's power sector, many admit this has not made any visible progress, with stakeholders saying it continues to grapple with one crisis or the other.
The Nigerian power sector has grappled with challenges that have stifled its growth and hampered its efficiency. These challenges include inadequate generation capacity, dilapidated infrastructure, as was rightly mentioned by the Right Honorable Chairman, Minister, frequent disruptions in power supply, and financial inefficiencies.
In Nigeria, there is widespread recognition that we are underperforming across all 4 pillars of providing electricity supply that is reliable, affordable, environmentally sustainable, and available to all Nigerians. Indeed, by some estimates, less than 20% of Nigerians have access to reliable energy of more than 12 hours per day. 45% of Nigerians have no access to any form of electricity.
We have over 100 uncompleted transmission company projects since 2001. A lot of them are 90%, 80% completion stages. But we need funds to ensure that we complete this project before we even move on to new ones. I have power plants in River State that are idle today, not because of machine unavailability, it's because of gas. I've not had gas in the power plant for 3 months.
As Nigeria's House of Representatives holds an interactive stakeholders dialogue to chart a way forward for the sector, many say Nigeria must move towards a multi-tier electricity market.
The super grid project, we are working on it, and we are trying to acquire spinning reserves that will eliminate incessant grid collapse. From the time of President Obasanjo, a lot of money was poured into the system. Where are we? And so they now said, oh, well, maybe it's not that. The problem is the law. And I think where we are today is that having amended that law, having given the states the power, having given anybody who can invest to really come in, and then we now have a multi-tier electricity market.
It has become necessary for stakeholders to address the envisaged challenges, which is shown by challenges facing NICE, and to chart a course for seamless transition to a multi-tier electricity market in Nigeria.
They say government must show more commitment to tackling the teething challenges affecting the sector and open its arms to partnership in order to solve the power sector challenges. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has resumed the sale of foreign exchange to Bureau de Change operators. This information was disclosed in a circular uploaded to the CBN's website on Tuesday. The Apex Bank said it is set to sell $10,000 to BDCs at 1,021 naira per dollar and directed the operators to sell at a spread not more than 1.5% above the CBN rate. Earlier, the Apex Bank sold $10,000 to BDCs at a rate of 1,101 naira per dollar and directed the BDCs to sell to eligible customers at a rate not exceeding 1.5% above the purchase price. The current rate is 7.27% less than the previous price. This current release is hopes to further strengthen the local currency of the naira. To discuss this, we are joined by Senior Manager and Lead ESG and Climate Change Service at Anderson Temitokwe Kolade. Good morning and you're welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Great. Now, so there's so much that we do not know, so we need you to help us out here. First question is, will the new policy make it harder or easier to find opportunities to buy dollars cheaply and sell them for a profit?
Well, as you can imagine, it will make it easier to access USD because that's really the policy direction of the Central Bank of Nigeria at this time. Whether it will make it easier for those who want to profit from selling foreign exchange to do that is something that is questionable. Reason being that again, the CBN itself has pegged the margin that they expect from the BDCs, for instance, and because of the speculations, it's very unlikely that people would also be willing to continue to buy without having relevant need for the foreign currencies themselves. So the margins and the profitability is doubtful, but to make it easier for people to access, definitely that's the direction of the CBN, and it should help in doing that.
So what effect would this have on the CBN's reserves selling at this rate?
Okay, well, the CBN has at different times assured Nigerians that this will not have so much impact on the reserves, especially because at the time they are also releasing some USD into the market to ensure that people are able to have access to get USD foreign exchange to meet their obligations, whether it's for travel or business or manufacturing or importation of raw materials. One would expect that we have so much, and of course the CBN just assured us that they've received a couple of USD in the recent times too. So they've assured us that there wouldn't be so much impact on the reserves. But I would say that even if there were to be any impact on the reserves, maybe indeed that's one of the reasons why we do have the reserves, to manage the exchange rate, which is what the CBN is doing. So there is not so much cause for alarm, I would say, to the extent that Nigeria is a going concern and will continue to have oil, for instance, produce for us some foreign exchange to balance whatever supplies that the CBN is making to the money market.
So the FX rate has been, well, directly impacting Nigeria's inflation, standing at 33% currently, an all-time high. These policies that have been, or this policy that has been put in place, how would it affect Nigeria's inflation?
I would expect that this would help in a positive manner, right? Because when you think about it, when people are able to access USD at a lower rate, we would also expect that in a way it will reduce their cost of imports, and it would also then help them to sell at a moderate price. But again, one of the reasons that we seem not to be seeing the direct impact already in our inflation rate is because there are speculations still within the atmosphere. People are not so clear about what happens to the USD and whether we're seeing consistency overall, because consistency is key in the long run, whether high or low, whether the margins are high or not. I think marketers want to be sure, manufacturers, importers want to be sure that if they buy at this rate today, they are able to also sell at the same rate, and the margin that they projected is fair enough for them, and it's something that they can see into the future. So I would think that overall we should expect lowering inflation rates, but we should also think about other things that the CBN is doing, maybe to manage that, which is, for instance, the buying of naira from people using the treasury bills that they're issuing and all of those. So that should help to also make naira a bit scarce, and that's where we should expect that inflation would go down, maybe in the medium term, if they sustain that sort of policy direction.
All right, so Kolade, endemic factors aside, let's talk about interest in Nigeria. How will this impact foreign investment in Nigeria? Will a stronger naira make Nigeria more attractive, a destination for foreign investors?
I am not quite sure that the foreign investors are so. I mean, I feel that they should be indifferent about whether the naira is strong or weak. I think what investors generally are concerned about is the stability of the naira and the accessibility. I mean, stability of the naira and the accessibility of foreign currencies when they want to repatriate whatever investments they put into Nigeria. At the moment, I would think that, again, foreign investors are concerned about the fact that there is a bit of unpredictability with respect to the rates, even though we see where the policy direction of the CBN is, but we've not gotten to that point where we can say we've reached equilibrium when it comes to the exchange rate system in Nigeria, and we'll say, oh, 6 months' time or 3 months' time, we can be sure that we can project what the exchange rate would be like, and that helps to manage business better. That helps to also give some assurance and give some confidence to investors. And I think that's really what the investors are more concerned about, as against whether the naira is strong or weak. I think they would care less about those, except that, again, they would worry that if naira is so weak, it could also impact on the consumption rate of those they want to produce for and those who would patronize their products in the country. But other than that, I think that it's much more about the sustainability of the rates that we see at any point in time, and the stability of such rates, and the availability of foreign exchange to repatriate their investments when they do want to do that in Nigeria.
You've spoken well. Thank you very much, Kolade. Thanks for joining us and giving us a little bit of insight on the effect of the new policy. Thank you. You are welcome back. We now head to Rivers State, where the governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, has approved a minor cabinet reshuffle. This was disclosed in a statement by the secretary to the Rivers State government, Dr. Tami Danagogo, on Tuesday. Former Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Zacchaeus Adango has been deployed to the Ministry of Special Duties, while former Commissioner for Finance, Barrister Isaac Kamalu, is now deployed to the Ministry of Employment, Generation and Economic Empowerment. The two have been directed to hand over their respective permanent secretaries immediately. The redeployment takes immediate effect. Now, staying with politics, the Rivers State House of Assembly on Monday passed the Rivers State Local Government Amendment Bill into law by overriding the assent of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The new law, amongst others, stripped the governor of the power to appoint caretaker committees for local government areas. It also makes it mandatory for the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct elections before the expiration of the tenure of local government's chairman. The new law also provides that if LG elections cannot hold for any reason, the tenure of the sitting chairman would be extended by not longer than 6 months. This is the 6th time the House will be overriding the governor to enact laws. Now to discuss this, we are joined by political commentator Godswill Jumbo. Good morning, Mr. Godswill. Good to have you.
Yes, good morning. How is everyone at News Central?
Great, thank you very much. Now, beyond the surface level changes, what are the potential political implications of the Rivers State Governor's cabinet reshuffle?
Well, I think it's all about ongoing re-engineering of the system for optimum productivity, for optimize the delivery of government services to the people of Rivers State. Professor Adango, an erudite scholar, a man of repute, compelled by political exigencies to find himself in the situation he is, has to be moved to somewhere where his visibility may not be that much. As much as he is pandering to the dictates of the political environment, I think the political players also are taking into account his reputation, his antecedents, and be able trying to also make sure they protect that. The man has put in a lot to get to where he is now. So let's not sacrifice all of that on the altar of politics. I think that's what the governor is trying to do. Then for Isaac Kamalo, we've known him, a politician, a technocrat, and all of that. Probably his current ministry, which is now XY, as at yesterday when these statements came public, maybe the unsuitability given the political realities now in the states. Who knows, maybe he's the one asking to be moved, or the governor in his wisdom is also trying to also protect these guys. Because, they've been all friends, they've been colleagues. So that camaraderie has to be preserved one way or another, at the same time while the politics is being played. But on the whole, for Rivers people, I think the governor is steering the ship of the state in such a way that the politics that is ongoing, does not affect governance in any way. We've seen him moving about, trying to assess the state's economic assets and work in the direction of reactivating them and maybe creating new ones in order to jumpstart the economic lifeline of the states, so that employment will be created, opportunities will be created, the IGRO will be upped, and all of that. So I think all of that is for the consideration of the good, the welfare, the well-being of the states and her people. I think that's the goal here. And I think so far, the governor has been doing well, and the other political actors too have tried, the best they can to also play along. And I think the peace in the state is highly appreciated. At least we can give the politicians that one. Not to lose sight of the very small, tiny minority. Like
okay, so I'm going to talk about the camaraderie you spoke about in just about a minute, but let me talk about the disputes. In the context of the ongoing disputes over the local government amendment bill, how will this reshuffle impact the governor's relationship with the State House of Assembly?
Okay, well, as we know, the position of the law in this country is very clear. The people who are amending and re-amending and putting up all that drama legally are no more members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And I would always say it again and again, that the media should recuse itself from recognizing institutions, individuals who are legally non-existent in a way that projects the media to be an enabler, an entrencher of illegality. Those lawmakers, former lawmakers, by their own action, by their own volition, have ceased to be lawmakers. They exited the political party that sponsored them to that position. Of their own volition, they decamped to another political party. And the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is very clear. And this has been, contested up to the level of the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court has upheld the sanctity of that aspect of the Constitution, that when you are sponsored by Party A to an office, and while in that office, you decamp to Party B, automatically, without a court case, without a sack letter, without anything, you lose that office.
Okay.
So I think it is wrong for the media to continuously refer to those guys as the members of the House of Assembly. So they don't actually exist. And whatever they do there is the same thing as what anybody would do in a beer parlor. It is of no moment. It doesn't mean anything.
All right, Mr. Jumbo. So let's talk about the governor's lack of veto power over the local government bill. Now, what legal challenges or strategies or alternatives could the administration pursue to regain that power over the caretaker committees, especially?
By law, the governor does not lose anything. The governor does not lose any power to do anything about the local governments. The people making and amending the law, they don't exist. Their powers to make those laws are non-existent. The local governments, their tenures will expire by June. When that expires, naturally, the heads of local government administration will take over the administration of the local governments, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. The people who are sitting down somewhere, like people in beer parlor and doing one or two things and saying they are acting in respect of the law, they themselves are caught up by the law. The law, the same law they are trying to make, that same law has exited them from the position of making those laws they are trying to make. So the powers to decide what to do with the local government is actually non-existent, as with regards to those people. The governor is, watching the environment, and when it gets to the time when the current local government administration, their tenure will expire, is it the House of Assembly that will extend their tenures? Do they have that is even the House of Assembly. We're not talking of an illegal group of people sitting somewhere and doing something that, are of no consequence. We are sure that when June comes, the tenures of the local government, by the way, a court has even ruled and quashed all of that drama.
Okay. Okay.
I think two of the local government chairmen went to court, challenging the action of those guys. I don't call them lawmakers. I call them guys. I call them gentlemen sitting somewhere and
well, all right then, Mr. Jumbo. Thank you very much, Mr. Jumbo.
The court of law has said all of that does not exist. So when the tenure of the local government administration, the current administration, gets to an end, the governor will decide what to do.
All right, Mr. Jumbo.
Naturally,
I want to thank you very much, Mr. Jumbo, for joining us and giving us your view. Thank you indeed. Now, as the global community celebrates the 2024 World Book Day, there is a renewed call for the promotion of reading culture in Nigeria. With the theme for this year's celebration being Read Your Way, experts emphasized the need to imbibe the culture of reading from an early age. News Central's Omolola Ololade visited one of the primary schools in Lagos to assess the pupils' reading culture. Details in this report.
One would think that the rise in the number of digital devices and social media have eroded the culture of reading, but for pupils of this school, the reverse is the case. They say reading is fun.
The most interesting book I ever read was The Three Little Pigs. It is interesting because of it entertains me and it teaches me moral lessons.
The most interesting book I ever read was Artie the Homeless Puppy. It improved me to write storybook.
Who are they, mother? Asked his sister.
Many Nigerian schools prioritize academic reading over reading for pleasure, which can lead to a lack of interest in reading outside of academic requirements, hence creating a poor reading habit among the people. However, tutors say they are convinced that the reading culture has improved tremendously as they are beginning to see a new generation of readers.
It is during these early years that we can capture all these children. So once their early years foundation is is brought up in the right way, so we are going to see that their reading culture is going to improve.
We've really improved in our reading culture. I will use our school as an example because my boss has a mobile library which she uses to go to different schools. She teaches them how to read, and I think it's going. If she can do more of that, it will go viral.
Encouraging reading habits can be a significant challenge, but experts believe there are several ways that individuals and organizations, including the government, can promote the culture of reading in the country.
The government and the people need to begin to equip stations, just small station of a library. There was something we donated to our communities called Little Library. And the Little Library is just a box that has books in it, and children have access to it. You can go there, pick a book. You can also put a book in there, and more children have access to it.
Literacy and the ability to read remain a vital skill to every child's future. Thus, the emphasis by experts to ensure that reading habit begins at an early stage and is imbibed throughout one's lifetime. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
News Central now continues in North Africa, where the bodies of 22 people presumed to be sub-Saharan migrants were found off the coast of the Tunisian port city of Sfax in recent days. The spokesman said it remains unclear whether the dead migrants had set sail from one or more boats, providing no further details. Tunisian authorities also said in a statement that they arrested 5 people involved in organizing irregular crossings to Europe from the coast of Tunisia. Tunisia, as well as neighboring Libya, have become key departure points for thousands of migrants, often from other countries, who risk perilous sea journeys in the hopes of reaching better lives in Europe. The South Africa Constitutional Court has ordered respondents opposing barring former President Jacob Zuma from contesting to file their answering affidavits on or before Thursday. This follows the Independent Electoral Commission turning to the Apex Court for clarity on Section 47 of the Constitution that prohibits an individual who has previously been convicted from contesting in the country's elections. Umtugo Bosizwe is a political party led by former President Zuma and an ex-convict who spent 2 months in prison. And Southern Africa is in the grip of an urgent crisis. A record-breaking dry spell lasting over 30 days is scorching 8 countries: Angola, Botswana, Madagascar, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. El Niño and climate change are fueling this disaster, inflicting several damages on crops and livestock over the past 5 years. Stakeholders, farmers, and researchers who gathered in Pretoria said the humanitarian crisis demands immediate action. Without urgent intervention, the suffering of affected communities will only worsen. News Central's Bongani Sisibe reports.
As the grip of drought tightens its hold on southern Africa, millions of people are facing severe food and water shortages, threatening their very survival. The recent declaration of drought in Zambia, Malawi, and Zimbabwe have sounded an alarm for immediate action to prevent further catastrophes. The scale of drought in southern Africa is severe, with devastating consequences for agriculture, livelihoods, and food security. Governments, donors, and international actors must act swiftly and decisively to save lives and avoid worsening humanitarian crises. Stakeholders, researchers, scientists, and farmers alike gathered in Pretoria to address, share ideas, and tried to find solution to the crisis.
The value chains were disrupted by the COVID-19, and we also have some of the shocks that are economic. The economic growth has not been able to support the agriculture sector, or agriculture also has not contributed enough to the growth of the economies, to the extent that the country is affected by such shocks as what we are having now. The El Nino are not able to really address the challenges that they are facing.
In times of crisis, farmers and researchers play a crucial role in mitigating the impact of drought through sustainable farming practices, resilient crop varieties, and knowledge sharing. Their expertise and dedication are key to building resilience and ensuring food security in the face of climate challenges.
Establishing climate-smart agricultural technologies was another point in this presentation from Zambia, which really prompted us to more discussion and especially more implementation. See, when we talk about climate-smart agriculture to our American colleagues, they think politics, they think Al Gore, and the farmers don't buy into that.
According to experts, investing in research and technology is essential to empower farmers with the tools and knowledge needed to adapt to changing climate conditions and build resilience. Collaborations between farmers, researchers, governments, and international partners is crucial to shaping a sustainable response to the drought crisis in Africa.
We have very wet seasons, floods, and we have dry seasons, but we don't have the multi-year droughts that we can also get. So building resilience will speak to, getting people in touch with that type of extremes that could happen. And also, developing and focusing on the kind of agricultural products that's more resilient to those kind of impacts.
The time for action is now. Governments, donors, and international actors must come together to provide urgent assistance and support to those affected by the drought in Africa. By working together and harnessing innovation and expertise can save lives. Calls are getting louder to call to action to address the drought crisis in Africa. In Pretoria, for News Central, Wongani Siziba.
The U.S. Senate has approved the $61 billion aid package for Ukraine that has been stalled for months in Congress, with President Joe Biden promising fresh supplies to be delivered swiftly to the war zone as Russia makes battlefield gains. Days after the Republican-led House of Representatives cleared the aid part of a larger $95 billion package of assistance to allies including Israel and Taiwan, the democratically controlled Senate followed suit, passing it with bipartisan support on a 79-18 vote. Passage of the bill, which also provides much-needed humanitarian assistance to Gaza, Sudan, and Haiti, comes after months of acrimonious debate among lawmakers over how or even whether to help Ukraine defend itself. Australia's top spy, Mike Burgess, has called for greater cooperation from the big tech companies, asking them to break a long-held industry taboo by providing access to encrypted messages. He was speaking during an appearance at the National Press Club in Canberra. Burgess said encrypted messages have compromised the ability to root out threats, adding that tech companies have a duty to break encryption when asked. Many tech platforms pride themselves on the ability to guarantee privacy through encrypted messaging channels, and providing access to law enforcement has long been seen as off-limits.
Social media is a convenient way to connect with family, friends in the world, and a convenient way for scammers, criminals, and spies to connect with you. Encryption protects our privacy and enables our economy, and creates safe spaces for violent extremists to operate, network, and recruit.
Now let's join our business desk for today's business news.
The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced its second intervention this month, allowing licensed bureau de change operators nationwide to purchase $10,000 each. In a circular addressed to the president of the Association of Bureau de Change Operators in Nigeria, the CBN provided details of the intervention, stating that BDCs can purchase dollars at a rate of 1,021 naira per dollar. They are authorized to sell these forex to eligible end users with a maximum spread of 1.5% above the purchase price, translating to a maximum selling price of 1,036 naira 15 kobo to a dollar. BDCs are required to make immediate payments of the naira equivalent for their allocated $10,000 and submit necessary documentation to facilitate forex disbursement at CBN branches. The intervention aims to improve access to forex for legitimate transactions, potentially reducing pressure on the parallel markets. Away from that, the World Bank has ceased funding for a tourism project in Tanzania following allegations of severe harm inflicted on tens of thousands of villagers, as reported by a US-based rights group advocating for action against the project. The decision to suspend the $150 million project, which aims to enhance natural resource management and tourism assets in a remote region of southern Tanzania, was described as long overdue by the Oakland Institute. The suspension took effect on April 18, with at least $100 million already disbursed since the project commenced in 2017. The Oakland Institute has been a vocal critic of the project, known as Regrow, citing documented rights abuses suffered by indigenous communities in the area. The World Bank confirmed the suspension of further disbursements to Regrow until it is confident that the project is upholding environmental and social standards. Finally, ZESCO, Zambia's state-owned electricity utility, has announced its intention to import power in order to address an energy deficit that could impact the country's copper production. Zambia heavily relies on hydropower, with 86% of its electricity generated from hydropower stations. However, severe drought caused by El Nino has significantly affected power generation. ZESCO estimates a deficit of 700 megawatts this year. To mitigate the impact, the utility is in negotiations to import additional electricity, which will be strategically allocated to critical sectors such as mining, agriculture, and manufacturing to support economic stability and growth. The exact amount of power being sought for import was not disclosed. Meanwhile, last week, ZESCO warned mining companies about potential fluctuations in power supply, raising concerns about copper output.
And now sports. Football. The Nigeria Football Federation has mandated that all players invited to the Under-17 national team camp must undergo pre-camping MRI scans. The newly appointed head coach of the Golden Eaglets, Manu Garba, invited over 51 players to camp ahead of their WAFU Zone B title defense in Ghana from May 15 to 29, 2024. The players are currently training at the FIFA Goal Project pitch at Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja, where they are expected to be trimmed down before the WAFU tournament. To avoid a situation where players will be dropped for failing MRI tests when the tournament officially kicks off, the Golden Eaglets are expected to be cleared during the ongoing camp, according to the team's media officer, Francis Archie. And that's all this hour, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Anti-graft agency arrests Nigeria's former Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, over failed national carrier. Former Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello's arraignment stalls following unavailability in court. 22 bodies recovered off Tunisian coast. Remember, you can send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number being displayed on your screens now. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Mazino Appeal.